Uncut Gems is an absolute tour de force performance by Adam Sandler, playing counter to the affable comic relief that he normally plays into basically just this gambling addict, complete sleazeball that you just love to hate. Uncut Gems is a film by the Safdie brothers. It stars Adam Sandler, Kevin Garnett, and a couple other actors and actresses in there. And it's a film that was kind of unexpected. I had heard about it and didn't really know what to think going into it. I heard from people it was really good. I heard people it was really boring. I heard people that they didn't like the end. And I really liked Adam Sandler's performance. That's what I liked the most about the film. While I felt the end could have been a little bit different in the film, Adam Sandler was magnificent in it. And it's a real shame that he was snubbed for an Oscar nomination for this because it is probably his best purely dramatic role that he's ever played, where he does a very good job in it. Basically, he is this gambling addicted jeweler in New York that really will screw over or fuck over anybody that gets in his way, regardless if they're his friends or his family. In fact, the film opens with a black opal being found, and then it cuts to him where he's basically running from various bookies. One of the bookies is in fact his brother-in-law, who he owes like $100,000 to. He's constantly making bets that he always loses, and what happens is finally he gets this black opal, and it looks like it's going to kind of turn around his life because it's appraised, or he has it appraised for like $1 million. He's got an auction that it's coming up for, but he gets it right when Kevin Garnett comes into the store looking to buy some jewelry. And Kevin Garnett falls in love with this opal, says, "Man, I got to have it. I got to hold this. I can feel the luck coming out of this." So he relents and lets him hold the opal in exchange for being able to hold Kevin Garnett's Celtic NBA Finals ring, which he then goes straight to the pawn shop, pawns that bad boy, runs down and makes a bet. He'd already pawned another piece of jewelry, a Michael Jackson on a cross necklace a little bit earlier in the film. He then takes that money, ups that bet, and goes off. And he makes like a six-way parlay bet, which parlay bets are usually very hard to hit on, but when you hit, they pay very well. Well, he hits the bet, but then he finds out that his bookie brother-in-law had some people follow him, and they took the money and canceled the bet. So he didn't actually win any money. He still owes his brother-in-law even more money. And what happens is ends up kind of hitting a head where he goes to his daughter's play, and he's really kind of a sleazebag because he has a family, 2 kids, and he also has a mistress on the side that may or may not be pregnant. I'm not for sure, but he just really is just not in a good position, and he just shits on everybody in his life for his own addiction, which is obviously gambling in this situation. And Adam Sandler has this really gnarly mole on his face that just makes him look just really nasty and dirty. So at his daughter's play, he basically gets stripped naked, shoved into a trunk by his brother-in-law and his brother-in-law's enforcers. He has to call his wife to come release him out. Then he comes in a dirty tracksuit. And from there, they go to a Passover dinner where he kind of basically is avoiding his brother-in-law, who's also at said Passover dinner, and then talks his father-in-law to showing up at his auction because he finds out that the auction house is actually, once he got the gem there from Kevin Garnett, that what happened is they lowered the estimated value of it, and he has to try to use his father-in-law to bid up the item once it goes to sell or goes to auction. Well, he gets there, and this dude has just having another string of bad luck, and guess what? Boom, his father-in-law ends up buying the opal instead of Kevin Garnett. It actually sells for like $175,000, which is a lot less than $1 million, and actually less than what Kevin Garnett had already offered him earlier in the film for it. And then you just think, oh man, where's it going to go from here? This poor guy, he's already got into a fight with his mistress, kicked her out of his apartment that he has in New York, and his wife is pretty much, still divorcing him. His kids don't really like him. And then finally, he gets that wonderful phone call while he's sitting there trying to avoid his brother-in-law bookie and some folks that Kevin Garnett actually wants to buy the opal, and he'll buy it for him for about $165,000. He's like, okay, deal, sold. So Kevin Garnett shows up, buys the opal for him, $165,000, and then instead of paying off his brother-in-law, who's basically on the way to come get him, what he does is he has his girlfriend who works at the store with him take the money, run off to another casino. I don't know exactly where it's at. Run off to a casino and place another bet on the Celtics, because what he did is he kind of riled Kevin Garnett up by showing him the point spread and the lines, saying they don't think you're going to be good at this. They think you're going to lose. They think you're going to lose this playoff game. They don't know UKG. They don't know UKG. You got your opal. So he basically just pumps Kevin Garnett up. Kevin Garnett leaves. He gives the money to his girlfriend while basically sidelining his brother-in-law and his two brother-in-law's enforcers, who have already beat him up a couple times, threw him in a fountain and things like that. And while he's there, what he does is he locks him in between kind of a dead man's door, where you got a locked door, you come into an empty space, and you got another locked door that goes into the actual jewelry store. And the girlfriend gets there, places the bet, which the bet, if he wins, it's another one of those parlay style bets. If he wins the bet, then what will happen is he'll end up winning like $1.2 million against the $165,000, which would then allow him to, of course, cover all of his debts, give a little extra scratch, get the Celtics ring back and things like that, which he already got the Celtics ring back because he traded his New York Knicks ring for the Celtics ring, and the Knicks ring was actually worth a little bit more money, and he'd have to pay that back. So that's what he would be able to get back. So it looks like it's going to be going good for him. He locks his brother-in-law and his men in that dead space, and then they just sit there and watch the game on the screen. While watching the game, there's a little bit of back and forth. They're like, let us out, let us out. He's not going to let him out, and then you can see him getting mad because it looks like he's going to hit all the parlays, and then it doesn't look like he's going to hit all the parlays, and then he ends up hitting all the parlays, winning $1.2 million. He knows it. He's like, yes, yes, so excited, so excited. His brother-in-law in the little dead man's room is excited because he's like, man, finally this sumbitch is going to pay me back. But the only person that's not excited is his number one muscle guy, who basically hates Adam Sandler's character at this point, because Adam Sandler had already kind of slapped him around a little bit earlier, like he took a couple cheap shots at him, and then as soon as they let him out, spoiler warning, the guy puts a gun and shoots Adam Sandler right above the eye, right below the eye, killing him as he falls out on the showroom floor. His brother-in-law, is like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And then he's kind of a little bit scared of him, and then he tries to run, and then the guy shoots and kills his brother-in-law as well. And then him and the other muscle, what they do is they end up basically just cleaning out the jewelry store. And that's really the only thing I didn't like about the film, because it didn't give you any kind of happy ending or safe ending to the film. It basically just showed that you live your life in this perpetual state of flux of trying to hit it big, failing, trying to hit it big. Then chances are you're probably not going to ever hit it big. And I could see why they went with that route with it, but it just seemed kind of forced, because this muscle guy was never really portrayed as being someone who would go against his boss. He was obviously a loose cannon, but it's kind of odd, as this guy was subservient to his brother-in-law, and then all of a sudden he just killed his boss and his boss's brother-in-law, and then robbed a jewelry store, but they're stuck inside the jewelry store. Because based upon what they showed beforehand is that this door wasn't really working. So they just killed two people, they stole a bunch of jewels, and they can't actually get out of this dead man's room because you got to be buzzed in and out of it. And it wasn't even working, so how would they even open it out? And it's a bulletproof glass. So that was kind of a plot hole for me at the end of the film, and I didn't really like that part. I thought they could have played it out a little bit better, maybe leave it a little bit more ambiguous into whether or not Adam Sandler's character actually died in the film, or if he just was kind of like dying out or bleeding out. But that's just nitpicking. It's a pretty good film. It's a little bit slow in some instances, and you will hate Adam Sandler in this movie, and you will hate him because of the character he's playing, not because of his performance, because he is just this bottom of the barrel sleazeball piece of shit, and you almost kind of want to feel happy that he got what he deserved, but you kind of feel happy that he finally hit the bet that he was trying to hit all along, because he was just taking these very risky bets to kind of cover, the money he already all owed. I would recommend this film. Certainly if you're a fan of Adam Sandler, I would definitely recommend this film, because it is seeing Adam Sandler in a different light than he normally is in. There's some humor in the film, something, but Adam Sandler's not really doing his like slapsticky, stuff. He's trying to play kind of a really frenetic and crazy character that's just, never stopping, always going at full throttle. And he does a really good job at it. Again, it's probably the biggest Oscar snub out there was him not getting nominated for this. Him and Eddie Murphy for Dolomite Is My Name. Them two should have been nominated for Best Actor, I believe, versus what happened. Either way, it's a great film. Give it a watch if you get a chance, but don't go into it thinking it's going to be a very happy, like, go lucky film, because it's not, and it's not that funny. It's just very gritty and dirty. Other than that, thank you. Feel free to like, subscribe, and share, and have a good day.